My beloved child, I will let this night pass without intervening because I watched you wrestle with 1,000 unspoken battles beneath your pillow, and your soul shouted what your mouth couldn't say. As your body twisted in silent unrest, I leaned in closer than your breath, feeling the pounding of your heartbeat that begged for peace but couldn't find rest. You thought no one noticed those tears soap into the side of your blanket, but heaven collected everyone, for I have seen what no human eye has seen. I've listened to the ache that even your strongest smile couldn't hide. You kept telling yourself, "It's fine," but I know the weight that pressed on your chest like a boulder, suffocating your hope, stealing your sleep, and making your dreams feel like distant stories that only happen to others. You're not invisible to me. I saw the moment your hands clenched in frustration beneath your sheets, the moment your thoughts screamed louder than your voice ever could, the moment you gave up praying because you were sure no one was listening. But I heard it. I heard everything you didn't even know how to express. I heard the heartbreak hidden behind your silence. I heard the confusion masked by your logic. I heard the hunger for something more when you looked at the ceiling and wondered, will anything ever change for me? I couldn't wait until morning because this moment is when I choose to speak into the storm that's kept you awake for far too long. I'm not speaking to the version of you that performs strength for others. I'm speaking to the part of you that's curled up inside, tired of pretending, tired of waiting, tired of hoping. I see through the layers. I touch the wound beneath the armor. I know the loss you carry that no one else could measure. The world moved on and expected you to smile, to keep showing up, but I watched when you almost broke for the last time. I'm here to interrupt that spiral before it convinces you to numb your purpose and bury your light. I've come tonight because you're not weak, you're weary from carrying burdens you were never meant to drag alone. You've walked too long in the valley of performance, and now I'm inviting you into the presence of truth. You have nothing left to prove to me. Your vulnerability is not a liability, it's the doorway to everything I've longed to give you. I know the reason sleep escapes you. Your soul is ready for what your mind still doubts. There is a battle between what you believe and what I've declared, but child, I don't sleep, and I don't slumber, and I don't let my beloved ones suffer through the night without help. This interruption you feel is holy. This restless night is sacred ground. I am shaking the soil around your spirit because something buried is about to rise. You felt forgotten, but this disruption is your evidence I never stopped watching over you. I am the one who saw you last night, and I'm the one who won't let you go until peace floods you like a river. I'm not just offering comfort, I'm offering deliverance. I'm not whispering cliches, I'm speaking breakthroughs. What I release tonight isn't temporary, it's the turning point that history will recognize as your resurrection hour. The time has come, and that's why I'm still speaking, because you're still awake, and I'm not finished with what I'm about to reveal next. Even now, as the clock silently creeps through the darkness and the city sleeps in stillness, I am calling your spirit to attention, not for fear, not for judgment, but for announcement. Heaven has reached a verdict concerning your life, and it can no longer wait in the archives of eternity. It must be delivered to you in this moment of sacred quiet. You were not created to wander through shadows of uncertainty or to question your existence based on the failures others placed upon your shoulders. No more will your worth be defined by temporary pain, delayed timelines, or misread seasons. In the throne room, where every moment is weighed and every purpose is preserved, a decision has been rendered with your name written across it, not in ink, but in divine authority that cannot be revoked, overwritten, or delayed. You are not standing on the edge of collapse as you feared, you're standing at the edge of your release. The tension you've been feeling in your chest isn't dread, it's the pressure of purpose pushing through layers of resistance that have tried to cage you for too long. And I couldn't wait for dawn to tell you, because this declaration is not for tomorrow, it's for now. I don't want the rising sun to greet you with old lies still living in your mind. I want your first breath after this moment to be taken with clarity, knowing that the struggle you've endured has only confirmed the weight of the assignment you carry. I am not consulting your past to determine your next chapter. I'm consulting the blueprint that existed before the world began, the one where you were already called significant, already sealed with purpose, already equipped with everything necessary to overcome what tried to bury you in silence. My decision about you doesn't change based on opinions, circumstances, or the number of nights you've spent doubting your direction. I want you to know before the world opens its eyes again that something irreversible has been activated over your destiny. What tried to delay you no longer has access to detour you. What tried to confuse you no longer has language to reach you. You've been stamped with something eternal, and I'm pulling it forward now because no more time can be wasted pretending you're average. You were never meant to blend into the background. You were never meant to adjust your brightness just to make others comfortable. What I've decided about you won't accommodate smallness. It requires space, obedience, and a heart that refuses to return to old definitions. You can't go back to pretending you're unsure, not when heaven has settled it so loudly. You can't shrink back when I'm sending signs in silence, dreams in the dark, and confirmation through interruptions that only I could orchestrate. You're not standing in uncertainty, you're standing under a divine appointment. It may feel unfamiliar, but that's because it doesn't look like what you've known. You've never seen what I'm about to do with you, because it's not recycled, it's not borrowed, and it's not based on what you've seen others walk through. What's unfolding for you is original, heaven's own design, untouched by imitation or human approval. I am setting this in motion before another minute can convince you to settle for less. The weight you feel in your chest right now, that's not anxiety, it's the magnitude of what's arriving. You're not stuck, you're stationed, and I've just signaled heaven to move on your behalf. Before morning comes, I want your soul to absorb this reality. You are not the same person who began this night in question. You are the one chosen to carry something the world hasn't witnessed yet. Let them sleep, but you, beloved, are being awakened for something eternal. And I'm not stopping here. You've carried questions like stones in your chest, trying to act like they weren't pulling you deeper into confusion, but I've felt every moment you stood still between what you hoped for and what you feared. This battle in your thoughts has drained your energy more than anything outside of you ever could. You keep replaying what went wrong, trying to locate the exact moment things shifted, hoping to find a reason that makes all of this make sense. But child, this isn't about punishment or failure. It's about what's been hidden too long behind layers of doubt that were never yours to carry in the first place. You were taught to second-guess your instincts, to question the whispers in your spirit that tried to nudge you forward. You were made to feel like discernment was delusion and like hope was dangerous. But I'm interrupting the spinning wheel inside you right now, because I'm not letting this darkness pass without pulling the veil off everything that's been lying to you. You don't need to live torn between two voices anymore. Mine has never stopped speaking, even when you couldn't tell which way was up. That pressure you feel isn't confusion. It's the last fight of the falsehoods trying to hold on before my truth finally breaks through. You see, you were never lost, only surrounded by noise. And now I'm silencing every echo that didn't come from me. I'm drawing a line in your spirit, separating illusion from instruction. I don't want you to wake up tomorrow still stuck in the web of overthinking, still doubting if you heard me right, still asking if you're too broken to be guided. You're not broken, you've just been bombarded. And now I'm answering you, not with a sign outside, but with a shift inside that will let you return to that inner chaos. I'm removing the clouds that tried to make you question whether I ever spoke at all. I did, and I still am. I've always been guiding you, but tonight I am increasing the volume until my direction becomes undeniable. You've been starved for clarity, and I'm feeding it to your spirit now. Not as an explanation, but as a revelation that will reorder everything within you. You don't need to figure out the next 10 steps, just stay here, in this moment, because this is where the old uncertainty ends. I'm confirming what you always suspected but didn't dare to believe. You were hearing me, even in the silence. Your hesitation wasn't weakness, it was protection while I fine-tuned the frequency. Now the confusion is being cancelled. You won't have to force clarity anymore, it will follow you like a shadow, because where I go, light surrounds. I'm not just clearing the fog, I'm awakening your inner compass so strongly that no counterfeit can distort it again. What you sense now is not a passing emotion, it's a permanent realignment. I'm not leaving room for second guessing, because this time, I'm sealing the truth into your very bones. You'll walk differently after this. Your thoughts won't spiral the same way. Your prayers won't feel like they're hitting the ceiling. And when others try to sway you with fear, you will stand firm, not because you're stubborn, but because you've seen too much of me to be moved by less. You've crossed into a new understanding, one where my voice no longer competes for your attention, it commands your peace. And child, I won't stop here. You've been carrying invisible sentences written by the mouths of others, words they carelessly released over your life as if their opinions could carve your identity. I watched how you absorbed their labels, even when you tried not to. I saw how fear took root, not because you were weak, but because no one defended your heart when those accusations and assumptions hit the softest parts of your being. But now I step in as your advocate, your defender, your judge, and your redeemer. I'm erasing what they said. I'm revoking every false declaration, every word curse, every limitation that was attached to your name like a chain. You are not bound by their vocabulary. Their misjudgments are not the prophecy of your future. I am the one who authored your story long before they misunderstood your process. And I don't need their permission to bless you. I don't consult their opinions when I choose someone to carry my light. The lies that were sown into your mind like truth are now being uprooted, one by one. Fear told you that you were too late, too broken, too much, too little, but fear was never your teacher. I am. And I teach differently. I lead gently but powerfully, and tonight I'm rewriting every inner script that made you doubt if you could ever be fully free. They said you wouldn't make it. I say you will rise. They said you'd always be stuck. I say movement is beginning now. They said you weren't enough. I say you were chosen. Your voices held you in a psychological prison, but my word is the key, and I'm unlocking doors right now, doors they never believed you'd walk through. The shame you wore like a second skin is falling off. The insecurities you thought were your personality are being removed like scales. The fear that whispered, "What if you fail again?" is being drowned out by the truth I'm shouting over you tonight. You were created to overcome. You are not a product of their perception, you are the fulfillment of my intention. And even when you didn't defend yourself, I was building a defense around your destiny. I let them talk, but I never let them touch the assignment. Their words may have stung, but they could never rewrite what I sealed before they even knew your name. That's why you're still standing. That's why you're still here, reading this, feeling something rise up inside of you that you thought had died. What's waking up inside of you is the original design, the version of you they tried to bury beneath assumptions and criticism. I'm not letting this night pass without setting the record straight. You were never what they said. You were never who fear tried to shape you into. And even the moments where you agreed with the lies, I'm healing those, too. Because grace covers even the places where your faith faltered. I know what they said hurt. I know it made you hesitate before speaking, before showing up, before dreaming. But that hesitation ends now. You will no longer second-guess your own voice. You will no longer stand in rooms questioning if you belong. You will walk in places they thought you'd never enter. You will speak with a fire they tried to extinguish. You will thrive in territories they swore were too much for you. And not for revenge, but for revelation. So that others may know I am still the God who lifts the rejected, who crowns the overlooked, who restores what was stolen by words never meant to be planted in a soul like yours. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them watch. Because what I'm doing in you now is irreversible, undeniable, and unstoppable. And I'm just beginning. You've walked through seasons where it felt like everything was slipping from your hands, opportunities, peace, people, even pieces of yourself. But what you didn't realize, beloved, is that I wasn't taking from you out of cruelty. I was clearing your grasp to make room for something far more weighty. You've been holding too tightly to things that were never meant to sustain you. Your fists were clenched around the temporary, so tightly in fact, that when I tried to place something sacred in your palm, there was no room left to receive it. I didn't withdraw my blessings, I waited. I waited for the moment when your soul would loosen its grip on what was draining you, so I could finally offer what was crafted to fill you. I've been standing in front of you with what your heart has longed for, but pain and pressure clouded your view like fog on glass. You assumed delay meant denial, but that was never the case. I was guarding the gift until you were no longer trying to carry it with hands already bruised from past weights. This is the hour where burdens begin to fall, not because they disappeared on their own, but because I'm stepping in to lift what was never yours to carry in the first place. I've watched you struggle to hold your emotions together, your circumstances together, your relationships together, and still you kept going, thinking that strength meant surviving while suffocating. But now I'm redefining strength in your life. Real strength isn't pretending you're fine, it's opening your hands in surrender and trusting me to replace the weight with something eternal. I didn't design you to be a collector of burdens. I created you to be a carrier of purpose. And what I'm handing you now can't be mixed with heaviness. It's too holy. It's too full of light. And you're ready for it, you just don't realize it yet. I know what's been crushing your chest at night and flooding your thoughts when you try to rest. I know how often you've walked around smiling on the outside while battling on the inside. I know how many times you thought, if I let go of this, everything will fall apart. But here's what I need you to hear right now. I am not letting anything collapse that's been anchored in me. What you lose in this release will not be your stability, it will be your captivity. I am not here to leave you empty. I'm here to train what was breaking you for what will build you. I am handing you vision. I am handing you courage. I am handing you clarity that isn't shaken by opinions or circumstances. I am handing you an anointing that was reserved for the exact moment you laid the unnecessary down. This isn't punishment, child. This is placement. This is positioning. This is where the exchange begins, your exhaustion for my empowerment, your confusion for my instruction, your chaos for my commissioning. And it's not just for you, it's for the lives connected to what I'm giving you. You've been asking for breakthrough, for signs, for direction. But I've been waiting for your release because I never force my treasure into clenched fists. I never pour new wine into vessels still soaked in yesterday's residue. What I offer requires space. And now that the pressure has brought you to this point, now that your soul is desperate enough to receive, I'm placing something in your care that others will witness and marvel at. They won't understand how you shifted so suddenly, how you moved from barely surviving to glowing with unexplainable peace. But it won't be sudden for you, it'll be the result of a divine exchange that happened when you let go of what drained you and finally made space for what I've held in reserve. And child, this is only the beginning of what I'm releasing. I watched you stare into the ceiling, not really seeing anything but feeling everything all at once. Those moments when your body was still but your mind raced into places too heavy to explain to anyone I was there. I saw the tears that never fell but built up in your chest like a flood with no outlet. I heard the silent conversations you had with yourself, the what-ifs, the self-blame, the hopeless questions you didn't dare voice aloud. You tried to dismiss it as overthinking, as exhaustion, but it was more than that. You've been carrying weight in your soul that no one around you could discern, and it's been pulling you deeper into a place that looks like quiet but feels like drowning. You've grown skilled at hiding, haven't you? Masking your fatigue behind distractions, burying your desperation under responsibility. But in the quiet, when the noise fades and the room goes dark, your real battles surface. And child, I've been sitting there with you not as a distant observer, but as the one who never stopped holding you when you couldn't hold yourself together. I came to break the silence of your suffering. I came to pierce through the shadowed corners of your heart where the lies have lived too long. You've believed the darkness was stronger than you, but it was never stronger than me. You are not stuck, you are surrounded by light you just haven't seen yet. And that's why I'm speaking now. Because I refuse to let another night pass where you mistake isolation for abandonment. You are not alone in this room. You've never been. While you wrestled beneath the covers with the weight of everything going wrong, I was positioning everything to turn right. While you questioned if you mattered, I was orchestrating proof that you do. The dark is loud, I know. It repeats old wounds, replays buried regrets, makes you question everything. But I am louder. My voice cuts through it like morning breaking the night. You were never meant to fall asleep under the influence of fear. You were never designed to rest in a bed full of tormenting thoughts. So I've arrived tonight, not to scold your worry, but to end it. Not by demanding you understand everything, but by reminding you of what's always been true. I am the light that no darkness can overcome. I'm not here to lecture you, I'm here to rescue you. Not from the world outside, but from the storm inside that's been wearing down your joy piece by piece. You've tried to calm it yourself, to rationalize it, to push it away, but peace isn't something you push into place. Peace is something I place in you. And I'm doing it now. I'm stepping into the swirl of your thoughts and replacing the confusion with clarity, the heaviness with hope, the dread with direction. No more tossing in bed wondering if you'll make it through another cycle. No more wrestling with guilt over things I already forgave. No more identifying with shadows when you were made to shine. You may not have felt me when the thoughts screamed loudest, but I was there, whispering truth underneath the noise, waiting for this moment when your soul would be quiet enough to hear me clearly. I am not disappointed in your weakness, I'm drawn to it. Because where you come to the end of yourself is where I begin in full power. This isn't just comfort, it's reversal. I'm pulling you out of the spiral. You'll look back at this night and say, that's when everything turned. Not because the world changed it, but because light came in. And that light was me. I'm not finished. This unrest you're feeling isn't random. And it isn't something to suppress, it's the sound of divine momentum pressing at the walls of your inner world, calling you to attention. You've mistaken this unease for anxiety, but I tell you, it's a spiritual alert, a holy stirring that will not allow you to settle where you were never meant to remain. Something eternal is calling you out of the routine, out of delay, out of the patterns that once fit, but no longer hold your future. You sense it even if you can't explain it, a shift in the atmosphere around you. A tremble in the ground beneath your soul, a silent invitation pulling you into something more than what you've known. You weren't made to live on repeat. The tension in your chest is the friction between who you've been and who you are becoming. You've been faithful through obscurity. You've endured in silence, and now the time has come for movement. But before that motion becomes external, it begins inside through this restlessness that refuses to let you sleep through your calling. The dreams you once buried are awakening again, not to torment you but to remind you they're still alive and waiting for you to say yes. This agitation is the evidence that you're nearing something significant. You've outgrown the season you're in. The garments of past limitations are too tight now. You've been trying to make peace with comfort, but your soul was designed for fulfillment, not complacency. And that knocking you feel, it's not pressure. It's a door being tested, ready to swing open. But it can't be opened from the outside. You must rise from within, walk toward it, and choose to cross into what I've already prepared. I'm not forcing you forward, I'm inviting you. Yet I love you too much to let you ignore this transition. That's why everything feels like it's shifting. That's why what once brought satisfaction now feels stale. Because I'm stirring something within you that no longer fits within your old rhythm. The world will call it restlessness, but I call it awakening. I'm waking you up to the assignments you haven't started, the places you're meant to impact, the people waiting on the other side of your obedience. You've prayed for clarity, this is it. You've asked for signs, I'm giving them in the form of this inner urgency that won't be silenced by distractions. You may feel uncertain, but you are not unprepared. Everything up to now has been shaping you for this season of initiation. Your character has been forged in hiddenness. Your endurance has been proven in waiting, and now I'm calling you to respond not with panic, but with purpose. You're not stepping into the unknown, you're stepping into what's been kept in reserve until your spirit matured enough to carry it. You'll never be fully ready in human terms. But I don't wait for perfection, I move in willingness. You're closer than you think. And this pull you feel, this holy disruption in your normal routine, is heaven's alarm clock ringing in your soul saying, it's time. You don't need all the answers to start, you just need to stop silencing what I'm trying to awaken. Destiny doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through restlessness. It tugs when you try to stay still, It stretches when you try to remain small. And tonight, I'm turning that pull into power. You won't be able to unfeel what's rising in you. And that's by design. Because this is more than a feeling, it's an assignment. And I'm right here, leading you through the threshold. You've been walking through long corridors of waiting, where every step forward feels like it's swallowed by silence, and every prayer echoes without immediate reply. But don't confuse my divine stillness with absence. I've been guarding you in ways you don't yet understand. What looked like denial was actually delay, and what felt like delay was actually me shielding you from stepping into something unripe. You assumed you were being overlooked, but I was hiding you on purpose, not because you were unworthy, but because your value was too high to be exposed prematurely. The delay wasn't me withholding your promise, it was me strengthening your foundation so the blessing wouldn't collapse you under its weight. I've seen your frustration. I know the hours you spent staring at doors that wouldn't open, opportunities that slipped past, and timelines that didn't match your expectations. But what you thought was rejection was really a rescue. If I had released you into certain moments too soon, you would have mistaken applause for approval and settled for something beneath your purpose. My timing has never been based on your comfort, it's rooted in your calling. And I've been stretching your capacity while you waited, not to break you, but to make sure you wouldn't settle for what was convenient. The detours were not diversions, they were training grounds. While others moved ahead with speed, I was building in you a depth that cannot be rushed. You weren't falling behind, you were being anchored. You see the surface, but I see the root. And deep roots don't grow overnight. I was growing things in the unseen places of your soul. Resilience, discernment, patience, wisdom. These are not small gifts, they are survival tools for what's coming. You thought the delay was slowing your life down, but it was actually preparing your steps for acceleration. I am not interested in giving you temporary flashes of success, I am preparing you for sustainability. I'm not just opening doors for you to walk through, I'm preparing you to lead in rooms others collapse in. That kind of preparation takes time. That kind of calling demands delay. You cried thinking I had forgotten. But I was just making sure that when you arrive, you don't lose yourself in what I give you. I love you too deeply to let you walk into influence with open wounds or fragile identity. So I hid you. I paused the process. I rerouted the plan not to punish you, but to preserve the masterpiece. Just like I covered Moses in the cleft of the rock, just like I tucked Joseph away in a prison before promotion, just like I allowed David to shepherd sheep long before holding a crown, so too, I covered you in delay for your good. If I let you run before your legs were strong, the very thing you prayed for would have crushed you. But now, because you've endured, because you've allowed me to hold the pen even when the page looked blank, I can begin to unfold the next chapter, and it will not just be good, it will be sustained. This delay has produced durability. What's forming inside you now is more than readiness, it's authority. When the doors open this time, you won't walk in wondering if you belong. You'll carry a presence that won't need explanation. You'll recognize timing as strategy, not punishment. And you will thank me for the seasons that made no sense, because they were the very places where I preserved the best of you. The wait was never wasted. It was divine insulation from things that looked like blessings but were actually traps. And now, child, I'm shifting the rhythm. Keep your eyes open. Things are about to move. You didn't miss it, you were being made for it. And I'm still unfolding more. This is not just another night. And these are not just comforting words to lull your soul into rest. This is a turning point. And I needed to reach you now, in the stillness, before the world places its noise back on your shoulders. What's coming next cannot be approached casually or carelessly. It requires awareness. It demands you be present, not just in your body but in your spirit. That's why I'm speaking now, because what is about to unfold is going to shift not only your circumstances, but also how you see yourself. The next steps I've ordained for you are not a continuation of what's behind you, they are a complete redirection, the kind that alters legacies and breaks generational patterns. If I waited until morning, the distractions would rise with the sun, and you'd be tempted to brush off what your heart knows is happening right now. But I'm reaching into this hour between yesterday and tomorrow to give you what can't wait: revelation, insight, and authority to recognize the shift that's coming. You won't step into it blindly. I'm removing the fog before you walk. You've been sensing the build-up, even if you haven't had words for it. There's been pressure around you, things rearranging quietly in the background, and relationships feeling unsettled without clear reason. That's because I've already started the transition, and now I'm preparing you to match it. You've grown too much to remain in the structure that once held you. The skin of your past can't contain the weight of what I'm giving you next. That's why you felt agitated. Even in familiar places, your spirit knows something is coming. I'm confirming it now. But I'm not just giving you awareness, I'm giving you access. There are divine alignments about to intersect with your timeline, people you haven't met yet who will carry pieces of your next assignment, places you've never stood that will soon become home to your influence. And it's all closer than you think. That's why I had to interrupt your night, because this moment matters more than you know. You've waited for change. You've prayed for movement. You've cried for answers. And now the preparation is becoming activation. I'm not releasing the full picture yet because faith will still be your guide, but I'm giving you enough tonight to anchor your trust. You won't walk into the unknown like before. This time, you'll walk with eyes open and heart steady. You'll know it's me. You'll feel the atmosphere shift around you, and this time, instead of hesitating, you'll move forward with quiet confidence because of what I'm imprinting on your spirit right now. The coming change won't just impact your path, it will affect the lives of those connected to you. That's why I've been refining you, not just for your sake, but for the sake of those your obedience will reach. What you carry is bigger than your own breakthrough. You've been chosen to initiate something others couldn't finish, to start what others abandoned, to believe when others gave up. Your yes to what's next is not small, it's a divine signal that you're aligned with the timing of heaven. And I needed you to hear this before sunrise, because the moment the light breaks across your window, a new chapter will already be in motion. You won't feel the same. The air will be different. And deep inside, even if nothing outwardly changes yet, you'll know the shift has started. This word, this moment, this message, it is the bridge between where you've been and where I'm taking you. And child, it's already begun. The intensity you're feeling isn't a reflection of failure, it's evidence that you've been marked for something weighty, something sacred, something the enemy hoped you'd abandon before you ever touched it. The warfare around you has been relentless, not because you're fragile, but because your destiny carries fire that hell cannot extinguish. You've mistaken opposition as a sign to stop, when it's actually confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. The pressure isn't proof that you're incapable, it's the enemy's last attempt to distract you before you step into fullness. The truth is, you're being fought so hard because you're carrying something that threatens darkness. You've been entrusted with something holy, and the adversary knows that if you ever walk fully in what I've placed inside you, chains will break, atmospheres will shift, and lives will be transformed. That's why the attacks came in waves. That's why confusion has lingered in the corners of your mind. That's why exhaustion hit you even in moments of stillness. This is not just emotional fatigue, it's spiritual resistance. But I'm lifting the veil on that battle tonight so you stop blaming yourself for what's not your fault. This storm didn't start because you failed, it started because you're aligned. You stepped into obedience, and the enemy took notice. But what he forgot is that I am the one who holds the victory before the fight ever begins. You were never meant to fight for survival, you were called to fight from identity. And your identity is not broken, abandoned, or insignificant, it's sealed in heaven, stamped with divine authority, and backed by my unshakable covenant. The enemy tried to confuse you with delays, distract you with emotional wounds, and wear you down with invisible battles, but I'm pulling you up now, placing new strength in your bones, and reminding you that you don't stand in this fight alone. I've surrounded you with angelic hosts. I've covered you with grace that doesn't run dry. I've equipped you with spiritual armor that never rusts. You've been pushed, but you haven't been crushed. You've been shaken, but you haven't shattered. That's not because of luck, it's because of my hand on your life. The attacks that came against you underestimated the resilience I've been building inside you through every tear, every disappointment, every sleepless night. And I tell you this now, what's coming for you is greater than what came against you. This fight won't end in defeat, it will end in demonstration. Others will see the fire didn't consume you. They'll witness how you stood when everything said you should fall. And they'll know it wasn't your own strength, it was me, holding you, breathing through you, lifting you again and again when you felt too tired to rise. The heaviness you feel right now is being broken not because the war is over, but because the perspective is changing. You are not a victim in this story, you are a vessel. And through you, I will display the kind of breakthrough that turns the enemy's plan into a testimony. You are not fragile. You are fortified. You are not forgotten. You are favored. You are not overwhelmed. You are overcoming. I chose you not because of perfection, but because of your willingness to still believe when belief costs everything. You're not standing where you are by accident. This is an ordained battleground, and it's where you'll see me move in ways you've never imagined. You don't need to retreat. You need to remember who you are. And child, what you carry is greater than the weapons formed against you. The battle reveals the calling, and yours is just beginning to unfold. You thought my quietness meant distance. You assumed that because I wasn't answering the way you expected, I had withdrawn, forgotten, or turned away, but I was never absent. I was deeply involved, even in the moments when it felt like heaven had gone still. Silence is not the absence of my presence. It's often the atmosphere where I do my most intricate work. While you were wondering why I didn't respond, I was rebuilding the very ground beneath your feet. I don't always speak in noise or signs. Sometimes I wrap my greatest strategies inside stillness, because silence has a way of slowing you down just long enough for me to recalibrate everything. You didn't hear me because I was shifting what you couldn't see. I was rerouting pathways you didn't know were dangerous. I was removing obstacles that hadn't even surfaced yet. I was preparing solutions for problems that hadn't shown their face. You were asking for answers, but I was anchoring your soul. You were hoping for speed, but I was developing stability. My silence wasn't a punishment, it was protection. You would have rushed ahead if I'd responded too soon. You would have settled for less if I answered too quickly. There were things in your life that still needed to break off before the blessing could break open. The delay in communication was not rejection, it was divine restraint. I was holding back, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. I needed your roots to go deeper. I needed your faith to stretch wider. I needed your dependence to grow stronger, not so I could watch you struggle, but so that when the storm came, you wouldn't be shaken. I wasn't trying to confuse you. I was inviting you to trust without evidence. And that kind of trust builds a strength that circumstances can't touch. You learned to walk when the path wasn't clear. You learned to believe when your feelings betrayed you. You learned to wait when waiting felt unbearable. And through all of it, I was near, closer than your breath, surrounding you when you thought you were walking alone. You see, child, I don't just lead with words, I lead with presence. Even when I say nothing, I am speaking through the way I sustain you. Who do you think gave you the strength to make it through nights you thought would never end? Who held your heart together when it was breaking in places no one else could see? Who covered you when doubt tried to flood your mind? It was me. I was in the silence. I was the peace in the pause. I was the whisper that kept you from giving up. And now, looking back, you'll see how that silence was full of movement. You'll realize that it wasn't inactivity, it was incubation. I was birthing something in secret. I was forming something sacred. I was preparing you to carry weight you didn't even know you were called to hold. The things you thought I was ignoring were the very things I was prioritizing. Your pain was never overlooked. Your prayers were never discarded. I cataloged every cry, I tracked every tear, and I positioned every piece according to a timeline bigger than your understanding. You will soon walk into moments that explain what the silence was doing all along. You will witness how it shaped you, how it carved patience into your soul, how it awakened discernment you never would have discovered without it. What you once feared will become what you now cherish. You'll thank me for not answering too soon. You'll praise me for not showing you the plan all at once. And most of all, you will trust me deeper because now you know I was never gone. I was never withholding. I was always working. And child, even now, while you're reading this and your soul is absorbing what it tried to ignore before, I'm still working in ways that don't need to be loud to be holy. I heard the question you didn't even have the strength to speak out loud. The one you whispered beneath your breath, not in anger but in heartbreak. Do you still care? It wasn't rebellion that pushed those words out of your spirit, it was fatigue. You were trying to test me. You were trying to survive. You've carried so much in silence, and when the pressure built past what your heart could endure, the only thing left was that question. And child, I didn't flinch. I didn't retreat from your doubt. I leaned closer. I leaned into your ache. Not to correct you, but to answer you, not with empty noise, but with presence. That ache that pulled you to your knees, that breath you held while waiting for something, anything to change. I saw it all. And I want you to know, I never stopped caring. I never disengaged. I never distanced myself from your pain. You were never alone, even when your emotions tried to convince you otherwise. You thought the silence meant indifference. You thought the weight you carried meant I had stepped away. But I've been sitting beside you the whole time, waiting for this moment when your soul would be still enough to finally feel what words can't fully express. I have not changed my mind about you. I have not forgotten your name. I have not dismissed your struggle. You did imagine my love, it's real, and it's here. I'm not arriving late. I'm revealing myself at the perfect intersection between your weariness and your breakthrough. You see, I care not just about your survival, I care about your wholeness. That's why I didn't just come to lift the burden, I came to renew your identity. Because somewhere along the way, in the middle of disappointment and delay, you started shrinking yourself, believing that maybe you weren't important enough for answers, maybe not worthy enough for rescue. But that's a lie, and I came to crush it tonight. I am not distant. I am not uninterested. I am not apathetic to the pressure you've been under. Every beat of your heart has been felt by mine. Every question you've asked in exhaustion has been met with my compassion. You're not overlooked, you're loved more deeply than you know. I know you've heard those words before, but tonight I want you to feel them, not as cliché, but as truth so heavy it settles in your bones and never leaves. I care about the things you stopped praying about. I care about the parts of your story you stopped mentioning because you thought they didn't matter to anyone. They mattered to me. I'm concerned with the dreams you buried, the wounds you didn't show, the fears you disguised as strength. You don't need to keep pretending you're okay. You don't need to carry the pressure of trying to appear composed when your soul is screaming. I see through the performance. I see the rawness underneath, and I care. I care enough to meet you here, to pause everything and speak into the center of your confusion. I came not to reprimand you for your questions, but to restore you with answers your heart can finally breathe into. This moment isn't about fixing everything instantly, it's about showing you that I've never stopped being with you in all of it. You didn't fail me by feeling overwhelmed. You didn't disappoint me by wondering where I was. Those questions brought you here into this encounter. And now, I'm not offering you shallow hope. I'm giving you myself present, steady, unchanging. Let this be the moment you stop questioning whether you matter. You do. Let this be the moment you stop wondering if I see you. I do. Let this be the moment you stop doubting whether I care. I'm proving it now, not with loud signs, but with a still, holy knowing rising inside you that won't be shaken. And child, I'm just beginning to unfold what that care will look like in the days ahead right now, while everything around you is quiet, while no one is watching, while the outside world is unaware. This is when something sacred is happening. I chose this moment because the kind of opening I'm bringing into your life doesn't happen when you're surrounded by noise or distraction. This isn't a public unlocking, it's a private invitation. What stands before you now is not just an opportunity, it's a threshold. And I didn't place this door in your path for applause or performance. I placed it here for transformation. You won't find the key in striving. You won't force it open with effort. This door responds to surrender. It was never meant to open through logic or control. It opens when your soul says yes with nothing held back. That's why it's here now in this hour, when your strength feels depleted and your hands are empty, because that's when surrender becomes real. You've tried to open other doors with your own plans, your own pacing, your own preferences, but they led to frustration because they weren't mine. This one is different. It's the entrance to what I've reserved specifically for you. No one else has access to this path. It's tailored to your purpose. But to step through it, you must first lay down the weight of how you thought it was supposed to happen. You've asked me what's next. And I'm answering not with a blueprint, but with a door that only responds to trust. This is the place where ego ends and true freedom begins. I didn't bring you here to tease you with potential. I brought you here to release what's been delayed, and all that's required is your yes without conditions. You've walked long roads trying to keep everything together, trying to meet expectations that were never mine, exhausting yourself trying to meet standards that I never gave you. But this door isn't opened by performance. It opens when you release your grip on what you thought was survival and take hold of what I've always intended: life beyond control, faith beyond sight, obedience beyond fear. You won't miss it. It's already here. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's now. But I won't drag you through it. I love you too deeply for that. I'll wait for your yes. I'll wait for your letting go. I'll wait for your heart to whisper. Even if I don't understand it all, I trust you. And when that happens, even in the quiet, even when no one else sees the shift, the lock will break open. You'll step through, not into chaos but into clarity, not into pressure but into peace. What's on the other side of this moment isn't just a new chapter, it's a new atmosphere. The heaviness you've carried won't follow you through. The voices that haunted you won't cross this threshold. The shame that tried to define you will be left behind. Because what I've prepared beyond this point is aligned with who you truly are, not who you had to be to survive, but who you were created to become. This door doesn't just represent opportunity. It represents identity. And once you walk through, everything changes, not because the world changes, but because you do. You won't be the same. You won't speak the same. You won't carry yourself the same. The door is here now, child. You've come all this way, not to reach the end, but to reach the beginning. Let the world keep sleeping. Let the noise fade into the background. In this hidden place, in this holy silence, I've brought you face to face with what I've been waiting to give you all along. Now choose to walk with me, not with conditions, not with certainty, but with full surrender. The door is waiting for you. And what lies beyond it will be unlike anything you've ever seen. I know what you've been secretly hoping for. A way out. A sudden disappearance from everything that's been weighing down your soul. You've imagined what it would feel like to run from the pressure, to disconnect from the demands, to vanish from the expectations that feel too heavy to carry another day. But child, I'm not here to help you run, I'm here to help you rise. I didn't come tonight to remove you from the fire, I came to refine you inside it. Escape may feel tempting when you're tired, but I love you too much to let you settle for temporary relief when permanent transformation is what I've prepared. I see every part of you that feels worn thin, the parts that long to vanish into the background just to breathe. But I didn't place you in this life to disappear, I placed you here to emerge. And not as the version the world pressured you to become, but as the real you, the one I formed before time began. The one that still exists beneath all the layers you've worn just to survive. You've begged me to take it all away, but what you didn't realize is I've been reshaping you through it. The things you thought were setbacks have actually been sacred tools, chiseling away the lies, burning off the fear, softening the hardened places that pain once froze. I haven't ignored your suffering. I've been shaping strength beneath it. I haven't turned away from your weakness. I've been building a foundation underneath the cracks. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. You don't need an escape route, you need a revelation. And here it is, What once broke you will now serve as the evidence of my power living inside you. The places where you bent under pressure will become the places where my glory shines brightest. The areas where you felt the most ashamed are the very spaces where healing will now pour through. I'm not removing the past, I'm redeeming it. You don't need to abandon your life to find me. I am right here, in the middle of it all, asking for one thing, your surrender, not to despair, but to becoming. I'm peeling back everything that covered your true reflection. No more hiding behind busy schedules. No more numbing the ache with distractions. No more waiting for perfect conditions before you allow me to change everything from the inside out. I'm not here to take you away from your story. I'm here to rewrite how it ends. You feared you're too far gone, too tired, too bruised to become anything different, but I've chosen this exact moment to breathe into the places you buried, to revive the parts of you you thought were permanently lost. You don't need to vanish. You need to be restored. You don't need to disappear. You need to be reawakened. And tonight, that process begins not because you forced it, but because you're finally ready to receive it. I'm turning mourning into movement. I'm taking what was stuck and stirring it into purpose. I'm removing the pressure to perform and replacing it with the power to live freely. This isn't a temporary fix, it's a permanent shift. And it starts with the yes that only you can give. The yes that doesn't need a full plan. The yes that doesn't wait for circumstances to change. The yes that simply says, I'm open. If you give me that, I'll meet you in ways that leave no doubt transformation has begun. The healing won't be a theory, it will be your new reality. The strength won't be borrowed, it will be your default posture. The peace won't be fragile, it will be unshakable. Because what I'm doing tonight isn't about escape. It's about emergence. You will not fade into the dark, you will rise into who I've always seen in you. And child, the process is already in motion. I saw the doors that closed so suddenly they left you breathless. I know the moments where you felt overlooked, passed by unchosen, when you questioned if something was wrong with you because what you prayed for never arrived. But I need you to understand something right now. Nothing that left your life was meant to remain. Nothing that slipped through your fingers was strong enough to hold your future. You didn't lose what was yours, you were spared from what would have delayed, distracted, or diminished you. It didn't feel like mercy at the time, because rejection always cuts deep. It makes you question your worth, your potential, your identity. But I never withheld good from you, I withheld what looked good but wasn't aligned with your assignment. I loved you too deeply to let temporary approval take the place of eternal purpose. And now, you're standing in the proof of that protection. You didn't see it while the loss was fresh. You couldn't recognize it while your heart was still aching. But look closely. Even in the silence, I was steering you away from the things that seemed attractive but would have wounded your calling. You cried over paths I never intended you to walk. You mourned over people I only allowed in your life for a season. You questioned your value when my love for you never wavered. Every no I gave you was a yes to something higher. And now, the things I've prepared are beginning to align, and suddenly, what didn't make sense starts to reveal its purpose. You weren't being cast aside. You were being aimed. Rejection wasn't the end of your story. It was the start of your repositioning. I took what felt like an ending and secretly shaped it into a launching point. You weren't discarded. You were preserved. I didn't allow those opportunities to succeed because they were beneath the magnitude of what I'm building with you. You weren't meant to settle for survival when I created you for significance. And the pain you experienced wasn't punishment, it was a friction of misalignment being corrected. I pulled you out before it took root, before you adjusted to what was too small, before you watered places that could never grow your calling. You were never meant to fit into the mold others tried to force you into. You're not forgotten, you were rerouted. And now, what I've been crafting in the unseen is about to emerge. Doors you never knocked on will open. Tables you weren't invited to will be restructured. Rooms you didn't think you belonged in will start to recognize what's inside you. Not because of striving, but because I've made the way clear through the detours. You'll look back and thank me for the no's. You'll praise me for the silence. You'll smile at the moments that once confused you because they were all leading here. Here, to the moment where your steps finally match your purpose, where your surroundings start to reflect your anointing, where you no longer beg to be accepted because you know you've already been appointed. I'm turning every moment of pain into evidence of my sovereignty. You weren't too late, you were being recalibrated. You weren't less than, you were being protected from imitation. The rejection was never personal, it was precise. I knew what needed to fall away so that you'd be free to step into everything without extra weight. I knew the wrong things would look appealing, so I had to shut the doors before they became prisons. And I knew you'd doubt me for a time, but even in your questions, I kept loving you with unwavering commitment. Now the winds are shifting. Now the clarity is forming. Now the things that once hurt will begin to heal with understanding. You're not broken. You're being set in motion. And the direction I'm leading you into now is only possible because you trusted me in the confusion. And beloved, what I'm revealing next will make every moment worth it. There's something you need to know, right here, right now. Not a single opportunity I designed for you has been lost. Not one door I crafted for your destiny has expired. The timeline others pressured you to meet wasn't mine. The voices that said you were running out of time were echoing fear, not truth. I don't operate according to their clocks, I move according to the readiness of your soul. And though you've looked around and seen others advance, though you've watched seasons pass and wondered if it was too late for you, I never took your portion away. I protected it. I covered it. I held it back, not because you were undeserving, but because the weight of it would have crushed you if delivered before you were ready. I waited for your inner life to match the magnitude of what I've assigned to you. You thought delay meant denial, but it meant development. What you now call strength was forged in the very waiting you resented. And the moment you believed was wasted was the soil I used to root your discernment. You weren't ready to carry the influence when your identity was still attached to approval. You weren't ready to walk through the door when you didn't yet know how to say no to what looked good but wasn't from me. And so I waited, not because you failed, but because I love you too much to let you enter a future that you couldn't yet sustain. You saw the pause. I saw the preparation. You noticed the silence. I noticed the strengthening. What's been hidden from your view wasn't hidden from mine. I've been working behind the veil, setting things in motion while also building endurance in you. I didn't withhold anything from you. I withheld it for you. There's a difference. I shielded your purpose from sabotage. I covered it from premature exposure. And now, something has shifted. I've watched your growth in private. I've seen the humility you chose when no one applauded. I've witnessed your internal battles, the ones no one could see, where you laid your pride down, where you surrendered your timeline, where you stopped comparing your life to theirs and finally said, "Whatever you want, Lord." That's when the ground shook. That's when things move. Because that posture is what unlocks what I've preserved. And child, it's time. You haven't missed your chance. It's been waiting for this version of you. The version that no longer needs to strive for recognition. The version that no longer compromises peace for temporary reward. The version that values alignment over applause. That's who I've been waiting for. And now that you're here, I'm placing into your hands what's always belonged to you. And no one can take it. And no one can block it. And no one can replicate it. Because it wasn't theirs to begin with. It was born from my heart for you, and nothing designed in heaven can be canceled by delay on earth. You're stepping into a divine moment that fits you now in a way it never could before. And though it may look new, your spirit will recognize it. You'll feel it in your bones. This is what you were made for. All the paths that confused you, all the nights you doubted if it would ever come, none of it was wasted. I used every detour to bring you to this level of maturity. So when I handed you the next step, you wouldn't question if it was real. You'd walk with quiet confidence, knowing you were born for this. This is not the revival of an old dream, it's the release of the real one. And now, you're ready to steward it well. You'll walk in doors that once terrified you and feel peace like never before. You'll hear my voice with more clarity, Not because I got louder, but because the noise that used to cloud your spirit has been silenced. And as you move forward, remember this: you didn't miss it. I was always waiting for you to see yourself the way I've always seen you, capable, chosen, and ready. And now that you do, everything begins to unfold. There were moments when you felt invisible, not just overlooked, but unseen in a way that pierced deep. You watched others be noticed, celebrated, chosen, and you silently questioned, why not me? You assumed you were forgotten, that maybe you didn't carry what others did, that perhaps you weren't as valuable, as needed, as significant. But child, what you didn't realize was that I wasn't allowing you to be hidden because you were unworthy. I was concealing you because you were too sacred to be mishandled. I kept you in the background, not as punishment, but as protection. You weren't being passed by. You were being preserved. The assignments I've written over your life are too weighty to be revealed before their time. And the eyes that couldn't see you weren't meant to. I've kept you out of reach from places that would have exploited your gift, drained your joy, or distorted your identity. If I had let you be seen by the wrong people, you would have spent your life proving instead of becoming. You would have poured out to be accepted instead of rising from being chosen. I was shielding your soil, giving your roots the time to dig deep beneath the surface, so when the time came to rise, you wouldn't be shaken by storms of opinion or weathered by the wind of expectation. You've grown in silence. You've bloomed in places where no one applauded. You've become strong while no one was watching. And now, what I've cultivated in secret will not stay hidden forever, but when it's revealed, it won't be for popularity, it will be for purpose. The unveiling I'm preparing is not about spotlight, it's about alignment. I'm not lifting you to be seen by the world's standards, I'm positioning you to be recognized by what heaven has placed inside of you. The season of hiddenness wasn't wasted. It was the furnace of preparation. I refined you where no one else could distort what I was forming. That's why it felt lonely. That's why your prayers felt unanswered. I had to isolate your process so you wouldn't adopt their voices before you learned to recognize mine. I had to teach you how to walk in confidence before the crowds arrived, because when they come, I don't want you depending on their validation. I want you anchored in the voice that called you before anyone ever clapped. When I finally reveal what's been forming in you, it won't be for entertainment. It will be for impact. You will be placed where you are needed, not just where you are seen. You will carry influence without losing your essence. You'll be visible, but not vulnerable to ego, because you've already learned how to be full in secret. And when the world starts to notice, you won't be seduced by the attention, you'll be steady, because the applause never built you, so the silence can't break you. This is why I did it this way. This is why I kept you hidden while others advanced. I wasn't ignoring you. I was guarding the oil I placed in you. I was maturing your discernment so you could tell the difference between good opportunities and divine assignments. I was teaching you how to stand on my word, not on platform approval. And now, I am lifting the veil not for performance, but for purpose. I am drawing you out of obscurity with grace and wisdom that only comes from the crushing you survive. You will be known not by everyone, but by those who were always connected to your mission. You will be recognized not for imitation, but for authenticity. And most importantly, you will finally feel what you've longed for, not attention, but alignment. You'll know you're exactly where I meant for you to be, seen by the only eyes that matter, mine. And from this place, you will walk into rooms without shrinking, speak without fear, lead without striving. Not because they finally see you, but because now, you finally understand why I hid you. And child, what comes next can only emerge from that kind of clarity. There were times when nothing, and no one around you could hold you together, and that wasn't because I abandoned you, it was because I was gently dismantling everything that distracted you from me. You reached out for support, for reassurance, for signs from the familiar. But each time, the silence only grew louder. Not because I didn't care, but because I needed your eyes off of everything that kept failing you. I knew how deeply you were relying on others to carry what they were never equipped to hold. You placed weight on people who didn't have the capacity to see your soul. and it wore you down when they couldn't understand you. So I allowed the tears not to shame you, but to bring you closer. Not to wound you, but to remove the false anchors that were never secure. Because while you were leaning on what was fragile, I was waiting to become your foundation. You were never meant to find direction in comparison, or healing in external approval. The ache you felt wasn't just grief, it was the stretching of your heart being pulled back into alignment with mine. And when the last shoulder you leaned on turned cold, when the last voice you trusted fell silent, when the last auction you clung to collapsed, that's when you finally turned your eyes upward. And that's when everything changed. You looked to me not out of ritual, but from rawness. You stopped performing faith and began breathing it. You stopped quoting hope and started holding it. Your tears became the ink that rewrote the posture of your heart. And I caught every drop. I didn't let a single one fall unnoticed. Each tear watered the ground where your next breakthrough is now sprouting. I know it hurt. I know you questioned why you had to lose so much before you found peace. But I couldn't let imitation comfort keep you from real transformation. I had to wean you off the need for constant affirmation so you could finally encounter what is unshakable, my presence. I never wanted to see you cry, I just knew that when you did, your gaze would finally shift. You spent years looking outward for validation, for answers, for assurance. But none of that could ever give you the security I've been waiting to offer. Only when you stopped looking around, only when your soul reached up from the bottom, did I meet you with the depth you were created for. And child, that moment when your face lifted through the tears was the moment heaven leaned in. It was the moment your heart cracked wide enough for me to pour into you the kind of peace that no person could replicate. You didn't realize it, but the breakdown was your entry into real connection. The end of your search became the beginning of your restoration. I know you wanted answers, but I gave you something better. I gave you my nearness. And from this place, everything else flows. Now you no longer depend on surface support, you found the source. Now you no longer panic when others walk away, you've seen the one who never will. Now you no longer chase every voice, you've learned to recognize mine. And I will keep speaking. I will keep guiding. I will keep holding you when the nights feel long and the world feels cold. Because this connection, born in the middle of sorrow, is real. You didn't find me in the light, you discovered me in the breaking. And now that you have, you'll never need to search again. I let the tears fall not to break you, but to open you. And now that you've looked up, I won't let you down. This is only the beginning of what I'll build from that surrender. You didn't choose the delay, you endured it. You didn't sign up for the silence, you survived it. And I know how deeply it hurt to stay in that space between what was and what could be. I saw you standing there in the hallway of hesitation, wondering if the door would ever open. I saw you try to make peace with the unknown while your heart still longed for movement. But child, what you didn't see was what I was building within you while time stood still. That waiting room wasn't empty. It was filled with the unseen work of heaven. While your hands looked idle, your spirit was being fortified. While your plans felt suspended, your discernment was being sharpened. What the world called a delay, I called design. You weren't being held back, you were being equipped. It didn't feel like progress, because growth in silence rarely does. But it was in that quiet space where answers were few and pressure was high that you learned how to carry what I'm about to release. I didn't rush your process because rushed things collapse. I was developing depth in you, the kind of strength that won't shatter under exposure. You learned to pray without performance, to believe without proof, to trust without clarity. That doesn't make you weak, that makes you dangerous to darkness. I didn't leave you there to break you. I held you there until the weight of your assignment could rest on you without destroying your joy. You kept asking when it would be over, but I was asking, will you let me finish what I started? Because the real miracle wasn't on the outside, it was happening inside of you all along. The waiting tested your endurance. Yes, but it also uncovered your identity. You found out what faith really means when everything in you wanted to quit, but you chose to stay. And every time you wanted to walk away but whispered, God, I'll still trust you, power was being formed in the places where disappointment had once lived. That power didn't come from a platform. It came from persistence. That anointing you feel stirring now wasn't dropped on you suddenly. It was born from months, even years, of walking through uncertainty with me. The kind of glory I'm pouring over you now could not be received by the person you were before the wait. That version of you still needed validation. That version still depended on visible results. But the one who emerged from the waiting room, this version of you carries something different. You've gained patience that doesn't panic, wisdom that doesn't waver, peace that can't be explained. All of it forged in the stillness. I know it wasn't glamorous. I know it didn't feel holy. But the most sacred moments are often the ones where no one else sees you, but I do. And in that private space, I wrote strength into your DNA. I taught you how to breathe through pressure. I showed you how to see me in the mundane. And now that you're on the edge of what's next, I want you to look back, not in regret, but in reverence. That painful pause shaped you. That waiting season raised you. It brought your ears closer to my voice and your heart closer to mine. Don't resent the hallway, it was heaven's workshop. And everything you thought you were losing during the time was actually being transformed into tools you will use in the days ahead. The waiting didn't waste you, it revealed you. And now, you carry a quiet authority that isn't shaken by delay anymore. You know how to remain grounded, even when the world shifts. You've learned the language of trust. And that's why I can now open what was once shut. Not because you finally earned it, but because you let me shape you in the silence. That power you feel rising inside you, that's not pride. That's preparation fulfilled. You're ready now. And the room you waited in will soon become the place others enter to learn from your endurance. It's not over, child, it's unfolding. They saw you step back and assume you were finished. They notice your absence and misread it as surrender. What they couldn't see, what I never allowed them to perceive, was that while the world grew quiet around you, I was busy rebuilding you from the inside out. Your silence was not evidence of failure. It was the womb where I conceived the next version of your calling. I've always worked in places others overlook. While they waited for your fall, I was laying the foundation for your rise. They expected you to stay buried under the weight of disappointment, unaware that I had planted you. You weren't being crushed, you were being rooted. You weren't withdrawing, you were being repositioned for something they could never calculate. You didn't lose your voice, you were learning to hear mine more clearly. You were never empty. You were incubating something eternal. You didn't go still because you quit. You went still because I needed every distraction silenced so I could speak directly into the parts of you that no one else has ever reached. They only saw what stopped, but I saw what started. I saw the fire that refused to die, even when the world turned cold. I saw the flicker of hope you held onto in the dark, when everyone else had walked away. They couldn't interpret the quiet, because they never knew the cost of your endurance. But I know it. I counted it. And now, I'm turning it into the very soil from which your resurrection is rising. You didn't break, you were becoming unshakable. That stillness they misjudged has now become your strength. They only understood noise and movement. They never learned to discern growth that happens in hiddenness. But I grow trees in silence. I mature hearts in secret. I anoint vessels in obscurity. And that's what I've been doing with you. While they were watching elsewhere, I was crafting something they wouldn't see coming. You've been underestimated, overlooked, misread, and I allowed it. I didn't correct their assumptions, because I knew their misunderstanding would protect you while I finished the work. I didn't rush your return. I waited until your roots were deep enough to hold what I'm about to build on top of you. They thought you walked away, but I was walking you into alignment. They thought you gave up, but I was guarding your energy for something more worthy of your yes. You weren't passive. You were preserving your oil. And now that the process is complete, what's coming out of this silence will silence every lie they believed about you. They won't recognize this version of you, because you're not returning as who you were. You're stepping out as who I've made you to be: stronger, wiser, grounded, glowing with the fire of someone who's met me in the deepest places and lived to rise again. You didn't perform your comeback, you allowed me to author it. And now, the same mouths that whispered about your quiet will be stunned by the volume of your victory. But you won't need to prove anything. You won't need to explain the silence. You will simply walk with the weight of someone who carries divine evidence, because resurrection doesn't need validation and speaks for itself. You are the living proof that a quiet season doesn't mean an ending. It can mean the beginning of the most unexpected kind of glory. Let them wonder. Let them watch. Let them wrestle with how it happened. You know the truth. You know what it cost. You know what was broken, surrendered, healed, and rebuilt while no one was watching. And I know too. That's why I've placed my hand on you. That's why I've placed my breath in you. You're not stepping out of silence into noise, you're stepping out of silence into purpose. And this resurrection cannot be reversed. What I've written in this quiet season is now ready to speak through you with power they can't deny. And child, this is only the beginning of the unveiling. You've spent seasons walking through pieces, fragments of what used to be whole, moments you never thought would shatter, emotions you never imagined would stretch so thin. There were days when you gathered what was left of your strength just to make it to the next breath, and nights when the ache inside you made silence feel like screaming. I know what collapsed behind your smile. I know what you tried to hold together while everything inside was falling apart. But what I want you to know now, in this sacred moment between yesterday's pain and tomorrow's promise, is that I never wasted one broken piece. Not one. I saw the way the world handled you roughly, the way people misunderstood you, the way circumstances blindsided you. I watched as life bent your will and bruised your spirit, but I also preserved what the breaking could not touch, your identity in me. What cracked under pressure didn't destroy you, it revealed the foundation I was always strengthening beneath the surface. And now, I'm gathering those pieces, not to glue them back together the same way they were, but to form something completely new. I'm not restoring you to your former shape, I'm shaping you into something greater than before. Every fracture now becomes a window for my light to shine through. Every scar becomes a map that leads others to healing. Every piece of your story that once made you wince with regret, I am now redeeming into purpose. You've looked at your pain as if it disqualified you, but I say it qualifies you for places your comfort never could. I will take the very things that wounded you and turn them into wisdom. I will use what was meant to silence you as the platform for your voice. The experiences that tried to bury you are now the materials I will use to build influence, compassion, insight, and authority that no one can fabricate. Because what's born from breaking carries a weight that imitation cannot replicate. You see weakness in your history, but I see evidence of your strength. You see ruin, I see raw material for the miraculous. You see disqualification, I see the kind of humility that changes atmospheres. I didn't allow the crushing to define you. I allowed it to deepen you. The world around you thought your pain was the end, but I have always known it would become the foundation for your next beginning. I never left you alone in those breaking points. I was there in the background, catching every falling piece and preparing them for this moment. And now I'm breathing on the very places you thought were beyond repair. I'm raising from the ashes what you didn't even have the strength to pray for anymore. I'm crafting beauty not in spite of your story, but through it. Others will look at you and wonder how you still radiate peace. They'll question how someone with your past walks with so much clarity, so much authority. And the answer will be simple. You were built by a God who doesn't discard what's broken, he resurrects it into glory. I've taken your sorrow and spun it into strength. I've taken your confusion and shaped it into discernment. I've taken your hidden heartbreak and formed it into empathy that heals others silently suffering. What once brought you to your knees in agony will now become what lifts others to their feet in faith. This is more than recovery, it's redemption. More than surviving, it's rising. I never needed your perfection. I needed your permission. And in the breaking, you gave me access to rebuild you without pretense. That's why what I'm building now won't crack again. Because this time, it's not built on pride or pressure, it's built on surrender. And what's built on me cannot be shaken. So hold your head high, not because you haven't broken, but because you've been rebuilt by hands that don't fail. This new structure rising from your soul will be both shelter for others and a monument to what I can do with surrendered fragments. And child, I'm just getting started. You thought tonight was just another pause, another restless stretch of hours you had to survive. But I need you to know that what's happening right now in the unseen is shifting everything about how you will be known going forward. Heaven has issued a declaration, and your name is being rewritten not because your past is being ignored, but because it is being overtaken by what I've marked you for. The name you carried in secret, forgotten, underestimated, unworthy is not the name I've ever spoken over you. That identity others placed on you in moments of pain or misunderstanding, labels like failure, too late, not enough, none of those carry weight in my courts. What I've called you tonight is something no human hand can erase. It's the name I wrote on your spirit before your first breath, and now it's rising to the surface, breaking through the noise, pushing past every lie you've believed. You are no longer bound by who they said you were. You are not who trauma shaped. You are not who regret whispered. You are not who fear narrated. That season ends tonight. A divine transaction is taking place as you rest your heart in me. The old is not only passing, it is being replaced. This is more than restoration, it's redefinition. When you wake up, the atmosphere around your life will feel unfamiliar. Not because the world changed overnight, but because your spirit will no longer accept old limitations. Your name carries authority now. An invisible but unshakable shift has taken place. But once ignored, you will begin to recognize you. Not because you strive to be seen, but because I've spoken something over you that creation must respond to. Your name is not attached to failure anymore. It is attached to favor. It's not linked to shame, it's anchored in destiny. I'm calling you by what you carry, not by what you came through. I'm not calling you broken, I'm calling you builder. Not forgotten, but forward. Not barely surviving, but bearer of light. You will walk differently, not out of pride, but because you finally know what I've known about you all along. This identity I've placed on you comes with divine access. It will unlock places that were once closed. It will quiet rooms that once dismissed you. It will break ceilings that tried to contain you. You struggled with insecurity, not because you lacked purpose, but because the weight of what was on your life hadn't yet been fully revealed. But now the unveiling has begun. This new name isn't about fame, it's about function. It comes with assignment. It comes with grace. It comes with responsibility that you're finally ready to carry. I've trusted you with it now because I've watched you grow when no one else was cheering. I've seen you stay faithful when nothing made sense. I've witnessed your obedience in moments that felt like wilderness. And now, your identity has been confirmed in heaven. The season of explaining yourself is ending. Let your fruit speak. Let your walk confirm what I've whispered to you when no one else was around. You won't need to announce the change, I already have. The shift has been recorded in spiritual realms. Angels have been dispatched. Strategies are being released. And as the sun rises, so will the awareness that something about you is not the same. It's not your clothing. It's not your tone. It's your spiritual DNA. It's been rewritten, marked by fire, secured by truth. No one else may see it at first, but they'll feel it. They'll sense something different when you speak, when you step in, when you simply exist in places where confusion used to reign. Because I've renamed you, and with that name comes atmosphere-breaking authority. You will not live beneath what I've already elevated. You are not who you were. You are not what they expected. You are mine. And with that name comes every provision, every covering, every promise attached to the identity I wrote before you ever cried your first tear. Rest now, for when the morning comes, everything starts under that new name. And nothing can reverse it. I have not brought you through everything you've endured just to hand you something ordinary. I didn't let you walk through storms, silence, rejection, pressure, and refining fire simply to deliver a blessing that could be dismissed or overlooked. Oh, child, what's coming isn't common. What's about to unfold in your life carries the weight of heaven's intention, and it has been prepared for such a time as this. You've prayed for answers. but I was preparing a movement. You asked for restoration, but I've been designing a ripple effect that will shift more than just your surroundings. It will touch generations. This is not the season of small things. This is not a whisper of favor. This is a divine announcement. I've been orchestrating events in ways you couldn't see, aligning hearts, environments, and even delays, to serve the greater narrative I'm revealing through your obedience. While others saw your journey and assumed you were surviving, I was writing a story of transformation that would testify to my glory through you. You're not entering into something ordinary. You're stepping into territory that's been guarded by angels, spoken over by prophets, and preserved through fire. The mantle that's falling on your life now wasn't inherited by convenience. It was fought for in secret, wept over in silence, and solidified in seasons where you had every reason to give up, but didn't. And now, because you endured, I can entrust you with something weighty. What I'm releasing isn't for status, it's for significance. This assignment carries evidence of my power, and you will see doors open that don't make sense in the natural. It won't be your name that unlocks them, it will be my hand on you. What's about to happen will not only confirm your calling, it will expose how divinely protected your process has been. Every delay, every disappointment, every denial was connected to something sacred I've been preparing behind the veil. You've walked through things that seem aimless, but none of it was wasted. The broken seasons became the blueprint. The quiet seasons became the cradle of your anointing. And now, I'm unveiling what I've been holding in reserve. This isn't just a personal shift, it's a strategic release. What you carry will set things in motion beyond your awareness. People will come into alignment just by being around what I've placed in you. Rooms will change because your presence carries my spirit. You won't need to announce anything. What I'm releasing will carry its own echo. You'll walk into places uninvited and find favor already waiting. You'll speak what seems simple and see chains fall off people who have been trapped for years. Not because of charisma, but because you let me build something real. I didn't rush you because I needed this to be undeniable. And now it will be. I'm not releasing partial promises, I'm releasing the fullness of what I've prepared, and you are ready. The ground beneath your feet has been tilled by tears and intercession. The soil is ready, and the heavens are open. You'll soon begin to feel the weight of what I'm handing you, not as a burden, but as evidence that you've transitioned from preparation into manifestation. This will not look like others' journeys, because I never intended to copy what I'm doing through you. It will carry a signature only I can give. And though some will not understand it, they will not be able to deny it. What I pour out now will bear fruit that will remain. You won't need to fight for recognition. What's being born through your life will make space for itself. And it will be unmistakable that I, the Lord your God, have done this. So walk forward not in fear, but in reverence. For what I'm releasing over your life is not light. It is legacy. And it begins now. You felt the interruption in your spirit. You sensed something stirring beneath the surface of your quiet exhaustion, and you wondered why sleep refused to settle in your bones. It's not just anxiety. It's not random. It's me. I've stepped into this night to break the stillness, not to disturb your rest, but to awaken you into what has been declared over your life in heaven. Restoration has come, not in fragments, not in delayed installments, but in fullness. I've drawn near to initiate what no one else could fix, what time alone could not mend, and what effort could never achieve. I know what's been taken from you. I know what slipped through your fingers in seasons where you gave your all and still ended up empty. I've seen the erosion of joy, of confidence, of trust, and I've seen how you tried to function while quietly fractured. You kept showing up, hoping something would shift. And tonight, that shift begins. Because restoration isn't a reward for the perfect, it's a response to the broken who kept believing anyway. And you, my beloved, kept believing. Even when your voice shook. Even when you didn't feel strong. Even when all you could say was, "Lord, help me." I was enough. Your fragile faith was still faith. And I've counted every act of courage you made when no one was watching. And now I'm redeeming what was lost. Not just returning it, but restoring it beyond recognition. The kind of restoration I bring doesn't just replace, it multiplies. What the enemy stole, I'm restoring sevenfold. What was delayed, I'm accelerating. What was damaged, I'm rebuilding with materials that carry eternal strength. I'm returning what was lost in relationships, in dreams, in your sense of self. I'm reaching into the parts of you that were silenced and giving them voice again. Not for your comfort, but for your calling. Because your restoration isn't just about relief, it's about readiness. You're stepping into a place where peace will not be temporary, where love won't come with conditions, where hope won't flicker in and out. I am reestablishing what should have never been dismantled. I am reviving what others gave up on. I'm restoring your heart's ability to feel joy without fear of loss. You've been so used to waiting for something to go wrong that you've struggled to enjoy what's good. But that changes now. I'm resetting your expectation not based on pain, but on promise. You're not cursed. You're not unlucky. You're not forgotten. You are chosen. You are covered. You are seen. I didn't allow you to lose anything I couldn't redeem. I didn't watch your tears fall without planting them into soil that now brings forth harvest. Every disappointment is now being turned into divine alignment. You may not understand the process, but you're about to experience the result. Restoration will touch places no one knew needed healing. It will reach memories you buried. It will transform the way you see yourself. You'll wake up not just refreshed but reset. Not just encouraged but empowered. You'll walk into the coming days with a posture you thought was lost. Confidence that doesn't come from external validation but from internal confirmation that I have made all things new. And I have. Even now, while the world sleeps and the night stretches on, the winds of change are swirling around you. Listen closely. Can you feel it? That stirring is not chaos, it's reformation. That pull is not pressure, it's me ushering you forward. The heaviness is lifting. The atmosphere is shifting. This is not a concept, it is a spiritual reality unfolding in real time. You are not who you were even 1 hour ago. Something has changed. Restoration has arrived, and it will not leave you untouched. From the top of your mind to the bottom of your soul, you will begin to feel the divine reversal in motion. And when you wake tomorrow, you will sense it in the details. In the way your heart breathes, in the way your hope moves, in the way your spirit rests. Because what I've begun tonight, no one can undo. You've entered the hour of divine restoration, and it is here to stay. You've spent long seasons trying to figure out what you did wrong, analyzing every decision, questioning every step, wondering why so much hardship found its way to you when all you wanted was peace. But I need you to hear me clearly now. What hurt you wasn't sent to destroy you. What tested you wasn't proof of failure. This pain wasn't the result of disobedience, it was part of the journey I knew you'd have to walk through in order to carry the weight of what's ahead. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. I used what the enemy sent to break you as the very platform to elevate you. Not because I enjoy your struggle, but because I see what's in you, and I refuse to let it stay buried beneath safety. You've been forged in pressure, and though it confused those watching, I knew what I was creating. They saw the breaking, but they couldn't see the blueprint. They judged the storm, but I was designing the structure. You were never being buried, you were being rooted. And now that the winds have calmed and the dust begins to settle, you'll realize this was never about what you lost, it was always about what I was preparing to release through you. This pain unlocked purpose. This tension awakened what was dormant. The tears watered seeds of strength that would never have emerged in comfort. You asked me why you had to go through so much, and here is the answer. Because what I've placed on your life demands a foundation deeper than emotion, stronger than convenience. I've called you to walk in something that can't be imitated. That means you had to endure what couldn't be faked. At heartbreak, it refined your discernment. At betrayal, it sharpened your wisdom. At abandonment, it redirected your trust back into my hands. Everything the enemy tried to use to disqualify you has become the very evidence that I've chosen you. They didn't expect you to survive. They thought you'd fade into silence. But what they didn't know is that I've been writing a story too big for their assumptions. And now, that story is unfolding one chapter at a time, and it carries glory that can't be manufactured. You see, greatness isn't given. It's revealed. And I've revealed it through how you've suffered and still showed up. How you've questioned but kept walking. How you've cried but never cursed me. That kind of faith. It's rare. That kind of resilience. It carries weight. That's what sets you apart. You've been misunderstood. But that's because they were measuring you by what they could see. But I measure by what I've placed inside. And what I've placed in you, child, is meant to shift atmospheres, to open doors for others, to release words that break chains in people who never knew freedom was an option. That's why I allowed you to feel the pain of bondage so you'd know how to speak to others who are trapped. That's why I let you walk through loss so when you speak of hope, it doesn't sound like theory, it sounds like survival. You carry something now that can't be learned in books or borrowed through mimicry. You've paid the price through nights of silence and days of surrender. And now, I'm raising you not to gloat, not to boast, but to shine with the kind of light that darkness flees from. I'm placing you where they never expected you to stand. I'm lifting you into places that once shut you out. Not for revenge, but for revelation so that they will see it was me all along. I am your vindication. I am your voice. I am the one who redeems the journey. And this pain you carried, it's now becoming your pulpit. What once made you question everything is about to become the reason others find their answers. So lift your eyes, child. This wasn't the end. It was the path. And now the path becomes the platform for glory, for impact, for the greatness I always saw in you. Even when no one else did, every word you've whispered in desperation, every cry that rose from the quiet places where no one else could see your breaking, I heard it all. I didn't miss a single tear. I didn't overlook one request. You've waited with stretched hope, wondering if your petitions were lost in the silence, or buried beneath someone else's breakthrough. But I need you to understand this. There was never a moment I turned my face away from you. I haven't been ignoring you. I've been orchestrating something far beyond the size of what you asked for. What looked like delay was actually me aligning things with precision, making sure that when the answer came, it wouldn't just satisfy a moment, it would secure your future. I don't deal in fragments. I don't give partial peace. And I certainly don't answer prayers halfway. I give fully, but I give wisely. And sometimes the wisest thing I can do is wait until you are not just ready to receive but prepared to carry what I'm about to release. You thought I was silent, but I was building. Behind the curtain of what you couldn't see, I was putting things in place, clearing out what would have compromised the answer, weaving together lives and opportunities you didn't even know were connected to the prayer you cried months ago in the dark. I don't just answer the what, I align the how, the when, and the who. That takes time, because what you're stepping into isn't small. You didn't pray little prayers, you brought me your heart, your dreams, your broken pieces, your fears. And I took them seriously. That's why I haven't rushed. What you asked for required a complete restructuring of the space you're about to step into. I wasn't just preparing a blessing, I was transforming you into someone who could stand under it without collapsing. You asked me for breakthrough, but I was making sure that when it came, you'd have the endurance not to go back to what broke you. You asked for peace, but I was removing anything that would have stolen it the moment you received it. You asked for love, and I began healing the places in you that would have sabotaged it. I don't just give answers, I give answers that last. And for that I had to wait for certain seasons to close, for certain people to reveal themselves, for certain wounds to begin healing, not because I couldn't act sooner, but because I love you too much to give you anything prematurely. You thought I was silent because nothing was moving, but heaven has been more active than ever on your behalf. I've spoken your name in places you haven't entered yet. I've positioned people to support you who haven't met you yet. I've unlocked resources that are waiting for the moment you step through the door I've had my hand on all along. When it opens, it will not be a coincidence. It will be a confirmation. And suddenly, what you waited years for will begin to unfold with clarity and momentum. You won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. The door will swing wide because I'm the one opening it. And when it does, you'll realize the waiting wasn't punishment, it was a sacred setup. It was mercy disguised as silence. I could have given you what you asked for then, but I waited to give you more than you imagined. Because your prayers didn't just matter to me, they moved me. And though it's taken time, it will be worth every moment. When it arrives, it will look like survival, it will look like abundance. When it comes, it won't come with strings, it will come with security. And when you walk into it, you won't walk in questioning, because deep inside, your spirit will recognize what I've been building this entire time. It's coming, child. The answer, the fulfillment, the greater thing. And it won't just meet the request, it will exceed it in ways that only I could make possible. I know how often you've measured your progress by the pace of others, how many times you've looked around and felt the weight of comparison press against your heart, whispering that you're too late, that you missed something, that somehow you've fallen out of rhythm with where you should be. But I need you to let go of that false measure. I do not mark your life by timelines written by men. I move you by design, not deadlines. You are not delayed, you are being developed. And where you are right now, even if it feels slow, quiet, or unseen, is exactly the place where your heart can finally hear what I've been trying to whisper all along. This moment isn't a detour. It's an intersection. It's where your soul is calm enough to notice me again. When the noise dies down, when the race pauses, when the world stops demanding your constant movement, that's when your ears tune to my voice. That's when you begin to feel the pull of purpose that is loud but unmistakable. I've orchestrated this pause, not as punishment, but as preparation for what I'm about to reveal next. Because what comes now cannot be right. What I'm unfolding is too sacred to be crowded by distractions. That's why I've separated you from certain people. That's why some opportunities faded without explanation. That's why you felt like everything is on hold, because I'm about to give you something that requires your full attention. You've been faithful with fragments. You trusted me through uncertainty. And now I'm positioning you for clarity that only comes when everything else is still. I've stripped away the noise so that my voice becomes unmistakable. I'm doing more than giving you direction, I'm giving you discernment. You'll begin to see what truly matters. You'll begin to recognize what once drained you. You'll begin to feel peace, not because everything's resolved, but because I've settled something deeper inside of you. I've brought you to this exact place because the next part of your story doesn't require a crowd, it requires communion. It requires connection to me without interference. You don't need a steady to seen, you need the stillness to strengthen. This is the divine pause before acceleration. I'm aligning your heart with my heartbeat. I'm reminding you that your pace was never slow, it was sacred. It was deliberate. It was full of unseen miracles and quiet victories. You made it through things others didn't notice. You held on when no one cheered. You kept showing up when quitting would have been easier. And now, in this sacred stillness, I am pouring into you what the fast seasons could never teach. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You are not falling behind. You are exactly where I've brought you to be, recalibrated, because the road ahead requires focus, not frenzy. The calling on your life is too important to be rushed. And the timing I've chosen is not random, it is righteous. When things begin to move again, and they will, you'll carry a weight of wisdom that wasn't forged in success, but in surrender. The still places, the quiet seasons, the rooms where you sat wondering if I still see you, those are the very altars where I've marked you for more. You're not being left out, you're being launched differently. You don't need to catch up, you're being positioned to lead in a way others won't understand. Let me handle the timing. Let me handle the doors. Let me be the voice you follow when the noise returns. You'll know what to accept. You'll know what to walk away from. Because from this stillness comes strength that no speed could give. And this is the reason I brought you here, not to sit in shame, but to receive strategy. Not to question your place, but to prepare for your placement. And child, now that your ears are open and your heart is clear, I can begin to show you what was always waiting on the other side of surrender. I watched you when no one else did. I saw the nights when your pillow soaked up prayers too heavy to say out loud. I stood near when your knees buckled beneath burdens you didn't ask for. There were moments when you thought, this is the end of me, but it wasn't, because every time you came to the edge, I met you there. Not always with visible miracles, not always with sudden answers, but always with more strength than you thought you had left. You didn't feel it at first, but I was placing something inside you each time you reached the brink, something sacred, something resilient. You thought you were breaking, but I was fortifying. You thought you were crumbling, but I was building from within. The truth is, some of the strongest parts of you were born in your weakest hours. That courage you walk in now, it was forged in the fires of those silent struggles. That endurance you carry, it came from early on when quitting made more sense. No one else may ever understand the cost of your survival, but I do. I was there in every moment where you whispered, I can't do this anymore, and still chose to rise the next day. I know how hard it was. I know how often you kept moving without clarity, how many times you smiled while your heart felt hollow. You weren't being ignored. You were being infused with divine perseverance. It didn't come all at once. It was layered day by day, breath by breath, prayer by trembling prayer. You didn't even notice the strength taking root because it grew quietly beneath the weight of your pain. But now, that strength is beginning to show. Not in loud ways, but in subtle shifts. The way you no longer react to every storm. The way you hold peace in chaos. The way your discernment has become sharper than ever before. That's not by accident. That's by design. I've been building you to stand in places that require more than surface faith. You're becoming the kind of person that trials don't intimidate anymore, not because life got easier, but because your spirit got stronger. You learned how to stand still and see my salvation, even when it didn't look like rescue at first. You discovered how to trust me in the fog, not just the clarity. And with each close call, each moment where you felt like letting go, I didn't scold your weakness. I met you there and strengthened what remained. I never needed you to be invincible. I've only asked you to stay connected. And you did. You kept returning to me, even when it felt like I was distant. You kept believing, even when your heart was tired. And for that, I've added more strength than you realize. What's in you now isn't shallow, it's rooted. It's destined. And it's ready. Others will wonder how you carry yourself the way you do. They'll see the grace but not the grind, the peace but not the pressure you overcame to get here. But I saw it all, and I honor it. That strength they admire wasn't gifted, it was cultivated in the soil of your endurance. And now, because of every moment you didn't give up, I'm expanding your capacity. You'll carry more without feeling overwhelmed. You'll speak more without fearing rejection. You'll lead more without losing yourself. Not because of effort, but because of what I've deposited deep inside. You're not the same person who once questioned if they'd survive. You're now the one I trust with more. Not because you fought perfectly, but because you stayed with me when it would have been easier to run. You didn't just survive the pressure, you've been shaped by it. And now, that strength will not only sustain you, it will sustain others too. What I placed inside you in secret will soon be the source of strength others draw from. And when they ask how, you'll smile, not with pride, but with peace. Because you'll know every time you nearly gave up, I didn't let you. I built you. And child, I'm not finished yet. You thought nothing was moving because your eyes couldn't detect progress. But I have been arranging every detail around you with heavenly precision. Behind the curtain of your confusion, I have been aligning hearts, opening unseen doors, and removing hidden obstacles. Even the delays had designed timing so sacred that even a second too soon would have cost you what I'm about to release. While you've been faithful in the shadows, I've been orchestrating in the unseen. Conversations you'll never hear, decisions you didn't initiate, and people you haven't met yet. All are being influenced by my spirit to respond favorably toward your purpose. The spaces you'll enter next have been prayed over in advance, cleansed from past contention, and anointed with peace you didn't ask for but desperately needed. You thought you were waiting in stillness, but what you were truly doing was holding position while heaven renovated your environment. I removed individuals not to leave you alone, but to ensure your influence wouldn't be diluted. I disrupted patterns you called familiar because they were too small for what I'm releasing. Even the silence wasn't absence, it was me working without distraction. I had to quiet the noise so I could reshape the narrative. I had to clear the stage before the lights could rise. And now, my child, you're going to walk into situations that seem too perfect to be coincidence, but they are not coincidence. They are divine setups, holy intersections, crafted for this very hour. Places that once rejected you will welcome you without question. Roles you never considered will be offered without striving. Alignments you long prayed for will emerge without force. And you'll stand in the center of it, not confused but in awe. Because deep down, you will recognize the fingerprints of God all over it. I did not forget your prayers. I stored them. I did not overlook your faithfulness. I recorded it. And now, your obedience in dry seasons is about to translate into harvest beyond imagination. This isn't reward for perfection, this is the result of intimacy. You trusted me when the evidence went missing. You praised me when promises looked distant. You chose me over comfort. And now, the atmosphere has shifted. You'll notice it first in subtle ways: a conversation that turns unexpectedly in your favor, a door you didn't knock on swinging open, a person you've never met speaking your name in rooms where decisions are made. That's not chance. That's providence. It's the quiet arrival of everything I've been preparing behind the scenes. You won't need to force your entry. What I've ordained will invite you in. There's a rhythm to this next season, a supernatural synchronization where what's yours will find you, not through chasing, but through presence. I've made your surroundings ready so that when you step forward, it will feel like everything was waiting for you to arrive. And it was. The opportunities, the resources, the people, every element had been hand-placed to complement your calling, not compete with it. This isn't random elevation. This is strategic release. And I want you to remember something when it starts to unfold. You didn't miss your moment. You were being readied for it. All the waiting, all the wondering, all the warfare, it wasn't pointless. It was preparation. And now, as you step into what I've been building around you, don't be surprised when it feels too peaceful. That's not a trap. That's your promise. That's the result of obedience meeting divine appointment. You've entered the phase where the surroundings are no longer resisting you, they are welcoming what I've placed inside you. To walk confidently, to speak boldly, carry yourself like someone who hath been sent, not stumbled into this moment. Because that's exactly what's happening. You're not stepping into luck. You're stepping into legacy. And I've gone ahead of you to make sure every step you take next echoes with my approval, my covering, and my glory. The fog that has clouded your decisions, the uncertainty that's paralyzed your faith, and the mixed signals that made you second-guess your discernment, I am sweeping it all away now. This moment marks the arrival of spiritual clarity so sharp, it will feel like scales have fallen from your eyes. You will begin to understand things that once perplexed you. People whose intentions were once murky will be exposed, not by drama, but by revelation. Paths that appeared tangled will now straighten before you, and you will sense a divine confidence guiding your choices, not based on emotion, but anchored in me. This isn't clarity that comes from logic. This is wisdom birthed in my presence, precision that cuts through chaos. You'll wake up with direction you didn't have the night before, and ideas will surface that carry my fingerprints, not ambition, but instruction. You'll see what's worth your energy and what drains your spirit. You'll notice who feeds your purpose and who only applauds your pain. This kind of clarity won't need confirmation from others, it will carry weight in your spirit. The yes will resound like thunder in your chest. The no will come with peace that refuses to be shaken. You won't need to argue or explain. Your discernment will speak for itself. I've seen how the confusion has delayed you. You weren't indecisive, you were being cautious, because you didn't want to step outside of my will. And I honor that restraint. But now, I'm accelerating your understanding. The veil is lifting. The puzzle pieces are snapping into place. What once felt random is being reassembled in front of you with divine symmetry. You'll be able to look back and say, "Now I understand why that didn't work out. Now I see why I had to wait. Now I know why I couldn't fit in there." That is clarity, and it will heal your heart as much as it informs your decisions. The anxiety that tried to speak over my peace will be silenced by the sound of my direction. You will no longer follow assumptions, you will be led by revelation. I am bringing closure without conflict. You won't need to revisit old battles. You won't need to open old wounds. I will give you answers in secret that settle matters in public. This level of clarity is not for spectators. It's for surrendered hearts. And I chose to give it to you now because your heart is postured to steward it well. You will not weaponize this wisdom, you will walk humbly with it. You will use it to navigate, not dominate. You will apply it with compassion, not arrogance. And that is why it will carry weight. Watch as misunderstandings dissolve without arguments. Watch as gossip loses power because the truth quietly reveals itself. Watch as your next steps feel unusually clear, even in unfamiliar territory. That is my doing. You won't need to look for signs in panic. You will recognize my whisper before the crowd hears the shout. Your confidence will not come from your plan, it will come from your alignment. I am giving you insight into what is yours and what never was. I'm showing you where to build and where to let go. And the tension you felt, the indecision you couldn't shake, it's because your spirit already sensed the shift before your mind caught up. But now, the two are merging. Your spirit and your understanding are finally speaking the same language. And it is in this union that your forward movement will explode with grace. This is not about moving faster, it's about moving wiser. And because of that, doors that require mature judgment will finally open, not because you forced them, but because you've grown into the one who can walk through them responsibly. I've waited to release this because timing mattered more than answers. But now, the hour has come. Confusion is fleeing. Distraction is losing its grip. Misalignment is being uprooted. And in its place, a knowing is emerging, steady, quiet, undeniable. Let it lead you. Let it settle you. Let it position you for the decisions that will define this new chapter. You don't need more opinions. You need my voice. And now, it will be unmistakably clear. You've been faithful, yet delays kept showing up in places you couldn't trace. You've prayed, yet movement seemed stalled as if something invisible kept tying your feet. But I want you to know this: what you couldn't identify, I have already exposed. What was operating in darkness is being uprooted now by my hand, not by your striving. This was never about your effort being insufficient. It was about spiritual interference that required divine intervention. And I have stepped into the unseen layers of your life where sabotage tried to seed itself silently. There were words spoken behind your back, alliances formed against your elevation, and intentions cloaked in kindness but dripping with envy. But none of it escaped my notice. I've been allowing the exposure to happen not to embarrass you, but to protect you. You were asking me to open the next chapter, and I was cleansing the margins of your current one so you wouldn't carry contamination forward. Some friendships felt like blessings until I showed you their roots. Some opportunities appeared promising until I revealed their true cost. Some delays felt like punishment, but they were divine shields guarding you from premature access. I am not only delivering you from obvious opposition, I am purging what's been hiding in your blind spots. This includes habits that seemed harmless but diluted your focus. This includes distractions disguised as responsibilities. I am untying knots in your schedule, in your thought life, and in your emotional attachments. You will start to feel lighter not because everything externally changes overnight, but because the spiritual weight that was clinging to you is being dismantled. This dismantling isn't chaos, it's construction. I am rebuilding your path so that it is no longer cluttered by sabotage. The open doors coming your way will carry sabotage in the hinges. They will swing open on grace, not manipulation. I'm removing every covert delay mechanism that's been placed by the enemy to drain your stamina. That includes voices that subtly disqualified you. That includes systems that favored others over you without reason. That includes spiritual blockades erected through generational strongholds you never consented to. Every cycle, every setback, every strange loss that couldn't be explained, I am bringing understanding now, not to blame, but to free. You've been marked for movement, and now I'm clearing the runway. What used to take you weeks of emotional wrestling will now be resolved in hours. What once required complicated decisions will suddenly feel obvious. That's because what's been hiding in the shadows of your progress is being brought into the light, and once exposed, it loses its power. I am not asking you to fight this one. I'm asking you to rest while I war for you. The chains you didn't realize were around your ankles are being snapped as I speak this. The weight you normalized is being lifted. The internal pressure that kept stealing your joy is breaking. Don't be surprised when things feel easier, not because life itself changed, but because the spiritual resistance that surrounded your path has been broken by my authority. I'm unbinding you from what was never yours to carry. I'm reversing the effects of sabotage you did see coming. I'm resetting your clock. What you thought was lost time is being redeemed with supernatural acceleration. I am also realigning your environment. People will begin to exit without conflict. Conversations will suddenly cease. Invitations will stop coming from places you used to chase. That's not rejection, it's redirection. I'm editing your circle, your access, your influence, so that what's meant for you will no longer be hindered by mixed atmospheres. You're not being punished. You're being preserved. You're not being delayed. You're being refined. I want your progress to be sustainable, not just visible. And for that, I had to purge the hidden hands pulling you backward while smiling to your face. Now, you'll rise freely, without resistance tethered to your ankles. You'll create without suppression. You'll walk into rooms without intimidation. You'll speak with clarity that scares confusion out of the air. This is the freedom that was promised to you. And now, it's yours, not earned, but delivered. I am the one who removes what you cannot see. I am the one who protects what you don't yet understand. And I have chosen this moment to make you unshakable. There have been gaps, moments when you didn't realize how exposed you were, when your spirit was open, your heart vulnerable, and your steps unguarded. You were walking forward with boldness, unaware that there were traps laid just beyond your view. But I've been watching. I've been going ahead of you, standing behind you, and covering your sides. You didn't always sense it, but I have wrapped your life in layers of unseen defense. While you focused on moving forward, I focused on building a wall that encircles you so completely that even silent attacks have lost their reach. There were conversations you were never invited into because I blocked them. There were decisions made in rooms where your name came up, but I muted your enemies' plans. There were intentions formed against you, but I dissolved them before they could manifest. I've kept certain texts from being sent, certain connections from being made, certain doors from opening because what seemed harmless to you was actually hazardous beneath the surface. I saw the motives. I saw the manipulation wrapped in smiles. I saw the envy wearing fake honor. And I stood between you and the storm without asking you to fight for your own survival. This is not the type of protection you can see with your natural eyes. That's why it often feels like nothing is happening, when in reality everything around you is being held in place by my will. While you were praying for visible change, I was preserving your invisible strength. While you were waiting for answers, I was diffusing threats before they reached you. This isn't just about rescue, it's about preservation. You are being kept in divine condition for the doors I'm about to unlock. Your voice is being guarded. Your peace is being reinforced. Your influence is being shielded, not because you're fragile, but because your assignment is weighty. And I will not let anything tamper with what I'm building through you. The silence you've experienced lately, that wasn't absence. That was insulation. I've hidden you from harm by removing your visibility from the wrong eyes. I've dimmed your spotlight temporarily, not because you failed, but because elevation without protection invites sabotage. And I love you too much to allow that. Every angel assigned to you has been activated with precision. They're not standing still, they're intervening, dismantling schemes, intercepting messages, and interrupting cycles. You thought that sudden change in that person's behavior was random. It wasn't. I redirected their path to prevent the wrong seed from being planted in your space. You thought that delay in communication was frustrating. It was divine. I closed that door so you wouldn't invest your heart where betrayal was guaranteed. My protection is not always loud. Often, it's disguised as disappointment or redirection. But today, I'm unveiling what I've done behind the scenes, not to impress you, but to reassure you. You're not unguarded. You're not exposed. You are watched over with a love that refuses to let anything reach you unless I allow it for your growth. Your discernment is about to sharpen. You'll start feeling the shift before it arrives. You'll sense wrong intentions before they take root. You'll walk into places and instantly know what to accept and what to step away from. That's not paranoia, that's divine wisdom birthed from the protection I've placed over your spirit. You'll no longer need to keep defending your choices to people who don't carry your burden. I'm placing around you a new circle of clarity, where only those aligned with my heart will remain. This protection is not just for your safety, it's for your purpose. You are too important to my plan for your life to be intercepted by carelessness or deception. I am ensuring that your energy isn't drained by the wrong battles. You will not have to fight what I've already defeated. You will not have to guard what I've already sealed. Just walk forward knowing this. Every time you step, you're stepping within boundaries I've carved for your victory. No matter how chaotic it looks outside, inside the shield I've wrapped around you, there is perfect peace. Keep moving. I've already gone before you, and no danger will meet you without my permission. Right now, you're standing in a moment that feels heavy with uncertainty. You're looking around, wondering what's coming next, worried that one wrong turn could unravel everything you've tried to hold together. But while you see the unknown as a blank space, I see it as a canvas I've already painted with my protection, provision, and perfect timing. You don't have to pace the floor wondering if you're walking into danger or delay. I've already entered the hours and days that you haven't touched yet. I didn't just prepare blessings there, I dismantled breakdowns that would have overwhelmed you. You didn't even see the mess that would have awaited if I hadn't stepped in, but I saw it all and moved faster than your prayers could be formed. You worry about tomorrow like it's an opponent you're not ready for, but I want you to understand tomorrow belongs to me. The pain you feared would resurface. I've buried it beneath healing. The people you thought might return to distract you, I've turned their attention elsewhere. The shame you assumed would chase you again, I've erased its permission to follow you. The failure that whispered threats in your ear, I silenced it with finality. You are not walking blind, you're walking covered. I have already crushed the traps before they formed. I have shaken the foundations of every lie being built in your absence. I did not wait for you to ask. I moved out of love. That's the depth of my commitment to you. My action does not depend on your awareness. And this isn't just about rescue. It's about strategic advancement. While you were wondering how you'd make it through today, I was paving the road 2 weeks ahead. I was removing certain people from key intersections in your timeline. I was unlocking favor that will land in your hands when you least expect it. I was stirring the hearts of people you've never met to think of you, support you, speak your name in rooms your feet haven't entered yet. I was engineering opportunities while you were asleep. This is what I do for those I call mine. I get involved before the threat announces itself. You're not reacting to life. You're following the rhythm of a path that's already been cleared. And even though you don't feel like you're moving fast enough, Let me tell you something important. Pace does not determine outcome when grace is guiding the journey. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not missing anything. What I've set for you is not slipping away while you try to catch your breath. I timed everything with precision, every meeting, every breakthrough, every shift. I didn't build your purpose on pressure. I built it on promise. And I keep my promises. The delay you see isn't denial, it's preparation. It's me removing anything that would collapse under the weight of what's next. I'm making sure your foundation is ready before the elevation begins. Because when I lift you, I don't want anything shaking beneath your feet. So breathe. You don't have to map out every step ahead. I've already been there. I've already answered the questions you haven't yet formed. I've already defeated the fear you haven't yet faced. I've already secured the resources you don't know you'll need. The calendar ahead isn't blank, it's blessed. The weeks you haven't lived yet aren't empty, they are overflowing. And when you get there, it will feel like ease because of everything I'm doing right now. You're not behind schedule, you're on holy time. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep your eyes on me instead of the clocks and calendars. I am the keeper of moments, and I've already declared your future safe, fruitful, and victorious. There is nothing waiting in your tomorrow that can stand against what I've already cleared for you. You've been walking through days that didn't match what you believed for. You held on tightly, hoping the next moment would unlock what the last one didn't. You've cried in silence while smiling in public, trying to stay faithful even when nothing looked fruitful. But what you didn't realize is that I wasn't withholding, I was building something so precise, so personal, that it required careful layering you couldn't see from your side. Every delay wasn't a dismissal. It was me adjusting the weight of the gift so that when I gave it to you, it wouldn't break you with the pressure. You've been trusting without evidence, praising without clarity, believing without confirmation, and I have seen all of it. Not a single moment of endurance was wasted. Now I'm moving. Not in the background like before, but in front of your eyes. The shift you thought would come slowly is going to land suddenly. And it will not come empty-handed. In fact, what I place into your life now will explain why other things didn't stay, why certain paths closed, why what looked like good opportunities were never meant for you. Because what's coming is customized. It was carved from the blueprint I wrote before you even breathed your first word. It isn't borrowed or second-hand, it's divine design. You'll hold it and realize it fits your spirit, not just your desires. It will nourish what's been weary and awaken what's been sleeping inside you. You'll feel the confirmation in your soul before your mind has words to describe it. And you won't have a fight for it this time. I'm placing it, not tossing, not dropping, but delivering with tenderness. You won't have to negotiate, beg, or hustle. This is not the result of striving, it's the result of staying. You stood when it would have been easier to sit down in discouragement. You prayed when silence screamed louder than answers. You showed up even when everything inside begged you to hide. And now, what's coming isn't just reward, it's revelation. You'll see how I used every detour to reroute you into divine intersections. You'll see why I denied what you thought was best so I could bring you what you never knew you needed. You'll see how I preserved your energy, not because I was punishing you, but because I needed you rested for what's about to begin. This won't be ordinary. It won't resemble anything you've seen before. Because this isn't the result of qualifications, or dining, it's the result of covenant. I promise to finish what I started in you. And when I promise, I don't just speak, I act. I don't just prepare the blessing, I prepare you to carry. That's why it took time. That's why it felt hidden. That's why it didn't come when others received theirs. You weren't overlooked, you were being reserved. Because this next door wasn't built for crowds. It was shaped for someone who would steward it with humility, with depth, with discernment. And that someone is you. So when it lands, don't question it. Don't try to shrink into smallness to make others comfortable. Don't apologize for the glory I'm about to place on your story. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. I'm crowning the quiet obedience. I'm honoring the unseen faith. I'm transforming what looked like wilderness into a well-watered place. This will not only bless you, it will bless through you. Others will witness what I've done and be reminded that I am still faithful. You won't need to explain yourself. The fruit will speak. The peace will testify. The breakthrough will do all the talking. This is not your imagination. This is not wishful thinking. This is me moving, placing, revealing. Stay open. Stay available. Keep your hands lifted and your heart uncluttered. What you're about to receive will make it all make sense. Every weight, every loss, every closed chapter, it was all leading here. And I'm not finished. This is just the start of what I've prepared for you. There are moments in your life when the spiritual resistance is so relentless, so disproportionate, that you start wondering if you've done something wrong. But the truth is, the intensity of the pressure wasn't proof of failure, it was evidence of significance. What you were contending with wasn't random, it was targeted. The adversity came with precision because the enemy saw something forming in you that he couldn't afford to let mature. What you felt wasn't a coincidence. It was an alarm in hell that signaled your elevation was near. And the storms that hit you hardest weren't about your past, they were a full-force attempt to prevent your future. But they failed. You withstood what was meant to erase you. You held on when the easier choice was collapse. And every time you stood in the dark with tears streaming down your face, still declaring that you trusted me, something in the unseen realm shifted. You didn't see it at first. You just knew something was trying to silence your voice, steal your strength, cloud your judgment. But even then, you didn't bow to it. And that resistance has now broken. What tried to hold you down is retreating. What once intimidated you is losing its grip. Because my decree over you cannot be reversed. You were never fighting alone. While you were wrestling in silence, my hand was shielding you from what could have broken your mind. You saw what touched you, but you never saw what I blocked. You felt the pressure, but you didn't witness the collapse that never happened because I stood between you and the destruction. The magnitude of what's coming required that kind of preservation. It's not small. It's not ordinary. It's weighty. And that's why the warfare was unrelenting. You were being fortified for something that would require spiritual muscle, emotional depth, and unwavering discernment. I wasn't trying to wear you out, I was training you to carry greatness without crumbling. Now that the tide is turning, you'll begin to see how nothing was wasted. Even the days you cried yourself to sleep were filled with purpose. Even the hours you felt forgotten were saturated with formation. I let the pressure build, not to crush you, but to extract what couldn't stay with you into the next chapter. Some attachments had to be severed. Some mentalities had to die. Some layers of self-reliance had to be peeled back. Because what I'm bringing you into requires room for expansion, clarity of vision, and purity of heart. Get ready to breathe again, not just sighs of relief, but deep, cleansing breaths of release. You're crossing a threshold where pain doesn't dictate your posture anymore, where fear doesn't govern your pace. You're not tiptoeing into this, you're being ushered in with boldness that doesn't even resemble who you were 6 months ago. You're not merely surviving now, you're about to thrive in ways you didn't think were possible. Doors will not just open, they'll swing wide. Favor will not just show up, it will rest on you like a mantle. And when it happens, you won't feel like an imposter, because you paid the price in the fire. And now, you've been refined enough to carry the blessing without it becoming your identity. Don't shrink when the glory falls. Don't downplay what I do next in you just to make others comfortable. This blessing isn't loud, it's luminous. It will shine through your character, your consistency, your courage. You will walk into rooms that once rejected you, and now they'll seek your insight. You'll step into spaces where your name was dismissed, and now it will be honored. Not because you sought revenge, but because you chose obedience. And that obedience triggered acceleration. You're about to witness what happens when divine timing collides with radical perseverance. So don't brace for more battles, prepare for fulfillment. The enemy wouldn't have fought you so hard if there wasn't something unshakable being delivered into your life. And what's coming isn't temporary, it's a shift that settles, roots that deepen, favor that lingers. This isn't hype, it's holy. Get ready to carry what you were born for. What was once stagnant is about to move with a speed that will startle even you. There were seasons where progress felt invisible, where your prayers felt like whispers lost in the wind. But I was not ignoring you, I was storing up every tear, every request, every moment of surrendered silence. What you mistook for delay was divine arrangement. I wasn't keeping things from you. I was positioning all things to meet you at the exact moment your heart would be able to hold them well. The time has arrived. Heaven has released the green light. The brakes have been lifted. And what once took years to manifest will now occur in a matter of days. This isn't exaggeration, it's orchestration. Your alignment with my will has triggered movement in realms you cannot see. Even now, angels are being dispatched to clear what blocked you. Conversations are happening on your behalf that will usher you into divine connections. Dead ends are turning into supernatural detours that lead straight into purpose. You're not going back to the version of life that exhausted you, you're being ushered into something entirely new, something sacred, something sealed with my approval. The route will be different, the doors will look unfamiliar, and the pace will demand trust. But I will not let you fumble this. I will not allow fear to steal what you've endured too much to reach. I am not only shifting your surroundings, I am elevating your inner structure. You will think differently. You will see with a sharpened lens. What used to frustrate you will now fuel you. What used to intimidate you will now serve you. This change is not just environmental, it is spiritual, emotional, and mental. You are becoming unrecognizable to your past, not because you're hiding from it, but because you've outgrown it. Let go of the urge to explain your expansion to people who refuse to grow with you. They won't understand what cost you so much peace to gain. You were not born to live beneath the weight of cycles that drained your purpose. You were destined to rise with wisdom that couldn't be taught in ease. You had to learn in the heat. You had to discover resilience through the wreckage. And now that you've walked through the unthinkable and kept your hands lifted, now that you've stayed faithful when comfort abandoned you, I'm handing you keys, real authority. You will not beg for access anymore. You will not chase validation anymore. I am turning you into a voice of clarity in a generation clouded by confusion. You won't speak from theory, you'll declare from testimony. What's coming will not be delayed. It will not trickle, it will pour. Favor will meet you in places you once feared entering. Provision will find you where you once felt forgotten. Your name will be spoken in rooms where breakthrough is birthed, not by your striving, but by my spirit. Don't resist the sudden movement. Don't second-guess the unusual instructions. When I say move, move. When I say speak, speak. You've been entrusted with this moment because you stewarded obscurity with integrity. And yes, the ones who laughed at your process will watch you walk into your promise. But do not look at them with revenge, look at them with mercy. Because they saw your struggle, but they'll never understand the intimacy you forged with me in the fire. What's coming isn't about showing off, it's about showing me. Let your life become evidence that I still honor obedience, that I still raise up those the world overlooks, that I still pour my spirit on the broken who choose me anyway. You didn't miss your moment. You were being shaped for it. You didn't lose your promise. It was just being prepared for your hands. Now, step into it boldly. Do not apologize for what I'm doing. Embrace the speed. Trust the unusual. You are entering the portion of your life that will not resemble anything before it. It will be so clear that I did it. No one else will get the credit. You are ready. Amen.